Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something pretty incredible, a single strip of water that basically dictates the entire rhythm of global trade. We're talking, of course, about the Suez Canal. You probably remember this. Back in 2021, the entire world was just glued to their screens watching this single, absolutely massive container ship get stuck completely sideways in this tiny little waterway. And the question everyone was asking was, how could that one ship bring global trade to its knees? Well, the whole incident with the Ever Given, that wasn't just some shipping hiccup. Nope. It was a full-blown global economic crisis. And it really pulled back the curtain on this huge vulnerability in a system that, let's face it, we all completely depend on.
So that's the big question, right? Why did one stuck ship cause such a worldwide panic? To really get it, we need to look at the canal itself, its history, its geography, and just how much power it holds.
All right, let's talk about the shortcut that literally shrank the Earth, the canal's real superpower. It all comes down to geography. It is by far the shortest way to get a ship from Europe to Asia.
I mean, just look at this comparison. The canal just slices this direct path between the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. What that does is it completely bypasses that long, super expensive, and honestly pretty dangerous journey all the way around Africa. We're talking about saving thousands of miles and weeks, literally weeks of travel time. It's a total game changer.
Okay, so an idea this good, this powerful, it wasn't exactly new. But when it finally became a reality in the 19th century, oh yeah, that immediately kicked off a massive battle for who would get to control it.
You know, the dream of connecting these seas goes way, way back, all the way to ancient Egypt and Pharaoh Sesostris III. But it took 19th century French ambition, driven by a diplomat named Ferdinand de Lesseps, to finally make it happen. And it was not easy. It took a full decade of brutal, intense construction.
But here's where the story takes a turn. It was actually Great Britain that looked at this canal and saw its true strategic value. For them, it was a direct lifeline to their empire, especially to India. So they moved in fast to establish control. And just like that, this waterway in Egypt became a crown jewel of British global power.
But, as you can probably guess, that kind of colonial control was never going to last. The canal was about to become the absolute flashpoint for a crisis that would shift global power forever. And here's that flashpoint. In 1956, in this incredibly bold move, Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser just went for it. He nationalized the canal, taking it back from the British and French company that had run it for almost 100 years. His declaration that it was an indivisible part of Egypt, man, that sent shockwaves and absolutely electrified the entire Arab world.
So, Britain and France, they were furious, absolutely livid. So they came up with this secret plot. They teamed up with their ally, Israel, to take the canal back by force. The plan was, Israel invades the Sinai Peninsula, which then gives Britain and France the perfect excuse to jump in and seize the waterway, all under the guise of being peacekeepers.
But the world had changed. The game was different now. The old empires got a massive shock when the two new superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, actually teamed up at the UN to condemn the whole thing. Faced with that kind of political and economic pressure, well, the invading forces had no choice. They had to pull back, completely humiliated. And that right there, that crisis was a huge turning point. It was basically the final nail in the coffin for European dominance. It marked the start of a whole new chapter, one where American and Soviet influence would really begin to shape the Middle East. So after all that geopolitical drama, the canal's economic importance just kept growing. And today, it's more critical than ever. And maybe, just maybe, more fragile too. Get this, today a whopping 10% of all global trade passes through the Suez Canal every single year. Just take a second to let that sink in. 1/10 of everything the world buys and sells flows through this one narrow strip of water. And this isn't some abstract number on a spreadsheet. We're talking about real stuff. Everything from finished goods to raw materials, but especially energy. A massive amount of the world's crude oil and natural gas depends on this route to get from the Persian Gulf to places like Europe and North America. So any delay, any little hiccup here, and you can bet energy prices are going to spike for millions of people pretty much instantly. So what happens when it closes for real?
Well, we don't even have to guess. It's happened before, and for a lot longer than the 6 days the Ever Given was stuck.
Yeah, after the Six-Day War in 1967, Egypt just shut the canal down, and it stayed closed for 8 years. You can only imagine the chaos that caused for the global economy. It forced all that shipping traffic right back onto that long, slow, and super expensive trip around Africa. So naturally, keeping this artery open is a huge deal. You've got international agreements, like the old 1888 Convention of Constantinople, that guarantee everyone gets to use it. And since it reopened back in 75, Egypt has poured tons of money into it, like a massive expansion in 2015, that deepened the whole thing, and even added a second lane to keep traffic moving. And all of that, it brings us right back to where we started, with the Ever Given. It's just this perfect, stark reminder, isn't it? That after more than 150 years of empires, wars, politics, and incredible engineering feats, this absolute linchpin of our global system is still so fragile. And maybe its greatest vulnerability isn't warships or superpower politics, but just a single gust of wind and one moment of human error.